We have Ming next. Mingling. Now, I remember when Ming came in, and the person had been a carrier, and they said, Jackie, I think there's something wrong with this cat. She said, well, what? Why do you think there's something wrong with this cat? They got the cat out, and Jack's, okay, we'll take him. It was pretty quick. So, Ming. A flame point Siamese who was absolutely wonderful. Ming was found on a porch all by himself. It was obvious that he had many problems. When we first took in Ming, his rear legs were very splayed. He was also very knock-kneed, pitifully thin, and thin-furred. What worried us the most was that he appeared to be blind and with possible neural problems. He would go into a corner and could not find his way out. Even though he was so thin, his bowels were packed to the max. What a mess he was. Our vet checked him over and was concerned about him. X-rays and lab work looked good. Somewhere, somehow, things started working for him. Over time, his bowels started functioning again. He stopped getting lost in the corners and could walk straight. He will always have his knock-kneed walk. His vision is still poor, but he gets where he wants, when he wants. A blind or partial blind cat is not really a problem. He is definitely filled out and so loves his morning special breakfast every day. His fur is so handsome and he knows it. He is very special too because he's a cat with horned toenails. His date of birth is 9/5/12 and he came to FFRC on 7/1/13. Special thanks to Marilyn S., Joanne C., Donna H., Sylvia D., Susan M., Joni W., Jean M., Glenn and Kathy R., Susan S., and Kim K. You can tell he's very loved. Next I have is Mellow. And last winter, when Sarah and I were snowed in at Jackie's for like a week straight, Mellow came to KK with us one night, and she was amazing. Her date of birth is 10/16/09. She arrived at FFRC on 11/8/2013 and was adopted 3/21/2014. Mellow could no longer live in the home that she had been in. They were unable to keep her. One look at her eyes, and how could we refuse her? We couldn't, so she came to FFRC. Her name is appropriate for her. She is such a laid-back cat and will also stand up for herself if needed. She loves to be brushed and petted. She also enjoys a chin scratching anytime. She came to the rescue center when she was 4 years old. She was in good condition. Mellow was here 4.5 months before she was adopted. A webcamer, Julie C., emailed us one day and said she was interested in 2 adults, not kittens. We were so excited about this. These 2 lucky cats ended up being Anna Marie and Mellow. It took a little adjustment at their new home, but it sounds like things are on a good level now, and they both will get on her lap at the same time. What a nice life for these 2 girls. Thanks to you, Julie, for providing a wonderful home for them. And then we have a little update on Miss Mellow as well. Now, Miss Mellow, we have had a rough road, but she is finally figuring out that she is safe, nobody will hurt her, she is loved, and that Anna Marie is okay after all. I honestly think that she must have been abused by a man or boy. She is terrified of men. Even my adult nephew that loves cats, she runs as soon as she hears the man's voice. But she is such a little lover, too. She waits for Anna Marie to be done with her greeting when I get home, and then she knows it's her turn, and she comes, gets into my lap, and purrs, and loves to have her head rubbed. She plays good and sleeps, and she too sleeps in the different beds, and then comes upstairs and sleeps on the opposite side of the bed from Anna Marie, but they both sleep on the bed with me at night. Funny thing, too, she snores, too. Poor Julie. She loves her stackers, and she is a little more round, which I love, as I thought she was too thin when I brought her home. And the best time for me at night when I finally sit in the recliner, usually Anna Marie has her lap radar and is up there in a flash, and then pretty soon here comes Miss Mellow, and then I will have both of them on my lap with me. I am just in heaven. So good news and happy kitties and mom. Thank you so much for letting me be able to love them. Thanks to Julie C. Look at those beautiful round eyes.
And I have two kitties. The first is Charlie. This handsome boy is a Covey. Charlie is a shy boy, but he loves the cove. He wanted to submit his own story, and this is it. I was walking by one day and saw a pretty goat and decided to say hi. I didn't have a home, so I decided to stay. When Mama Jackie called all the cats for dinner that night, I just came in with them. She looked at me and said, "Oh my gosh, who are you?" Then Mama Jackie asked me if I wanted to stay, and I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I said okay. She always tells me that I was the one of the few cats that picked her out. Charlie came in 2008 as a year and a half old cat. He loves his adventures out on the farmyard and always comes back when it's supper time. Not always, if you ask Connie. His date of birth is 9/15/2006. He came to FFRC in March of 2008. This is our handsome Charlie. Thanks to Deb K. Charlie is one who is known not to be so prompt in arriving back. My second cat is Sesame. He was so very handsome, he reminded us of Tonio, part Siamese with big blue eyes. Excuse me. Sesame was a mush of a cat. He was found inside a big semi-truck that was delivering goods to Myers from out of town. They opened the doors, and there was Sesame. So they put him in a carrier and brought him to FFRC. The truck had been in many different locations, so we had no idea where he may have come from. He was probably 8 or 9 years old. He loved to nuzzle and would suck on our shirts and skin. Yes, he was quite a baby. He was quite one of the sweetest cats we've ever had. He so enjoyed being here. Then he hit a snag. He developed a virus, and we couldn't figure out why he got so sick with this. Then we found out he also had heart problems. He had another appointment at the vet's to be checked again, but he passed away before we could get there. We were so sad about this. He went quickly and was held by those who loved him, being rocked in the rocking chair. If he only had a short time left, I'm glad he was here with us. He sure seemed to enjoy himself here and gave him ample time to suck all he wanted to on our shirts. I do believe he had us all wrapped around his tail. He arrived 1/20/12. And thanks to Terry W.
I've got two little too difficult ones myself here. One is Milford. Oh, what a sweetie he was. He did not deserve to have this tragedy happen to him. Milford was a little kitten that came to us all broken up. This little sweetie was thrown out of a car. What possesses a person to even think of doing this? When these things happen, we try to turn our attention from being upset and negative to what we can do for the kitten or cat presented to us. Our energy needs to go there, not in something that we cannot change. So Milford was with us now. A young lady actually saw Milford as he was tossed from a car. As usual with these kinds of incidents, the lower back is snapped and there's paralysis to the rear legs. Many times this also affects the ability to potty. The young lady who rescued him is a vet tech and took him to our vet. Milford was actually there for a week. When things didn't change, she called and asked if Milford could come and be with us. We said yes. Here is the one thing about these types of injuries. From the point of where the nerve sever is at, there is no pain. Milford started coming up to the main area. He loved it and made many friends, both two-legged and four-legged. He was so very loved. The other problem we were presented with is his leg skin was beginning to show thinness to the point where we were worried about sores. His little stockings wouldn't stay on. Since he was over the 2-pound limit with ounces to spare, we decided we better remove the worst of the two legs. He did not survive this surgery. There was no easy way of telling folks this. All of our hearts were broken beyond belief. During the surgery, all was fine. His monitor was beeping along, and then it slowed a few beats, and then it simply stopped. We spent much time working on revival, but it did not work. Much of the rest of that afternoon was spent in discussion of what went wrong, how to prevent it again, and to continue learning and leaning on our monitors to help us. This was a death that shook us all. So I feel when we have any event happen that it's very important to learn from them. And so we did. We learned more about our monitors, how to depend on them, how to read them. We also revised a couple of other aspects of future surgeries. Always learn from anything sad that happens. It makes that death easier to take, knowing that it also gave something back. Milford will not be forgotten, and thank you all for loving him. My second one is Heaven. What can we say, but we are so very happy she was with us. She knew very well when we accepted her, or we knew very well when we accepted her that she would not be with us long. But truly, that doesn't matter. What does matter is the amount of love given while she is here with us. Her name was appropriate, Heaven. She was at least 15 years old and had been an inside cat. When her owner dad passed away 6-7 years ago, she was put outside to live. In the last 1/2 year before she came to us, she had developed a horrible face disfigurement. A wonderful friend saw her on Easter 2012 and got the owner to give us full ownership of her, for which I am thankful. Heaven got to go on a visit to the vet's office for a biopsy. Gallant even accompanied us on this trip for a checkup. Unfortunately, the biopsy report came back with cancer, as we strongly thought. Okay, that puts us in a different ballgame now that with Heaven. Yes, her face was hard to look at, but you know, once you got used to it, she became beautiful right in front of our eyes. It didn't matter anymore. We had kept her in the back thumper's room to save people from seeing her. Well, that changed. We wanted her up in the main area, and we made the conscious decision we were not going to hide her. So up she came. Yes, people would ask what happened to her, and so we would offer education information about her. She was happy and loved to be petted and held. She even so enjoyed us talking to her. She figured out how to eat just fine. We thoroughly enjoyed pampering her. She taught people a lesson. It doesn't matter what the outside is like. What's important is what's on the inside. And believe me, she was full of goodness. Heaven wasn't with us too long. When she started showing signs of respiratory problems, we made the decision to let her go before the stress set in. She was held, told what a good girl she was, and that we were thrilled to have her. There's another star in the sky named Heaven. And on Milford's story, or on Milford, I would like to thank Fiona, Auntie, and William D. and Stanley E. for being Milford sponsors. And for Heaven, it's Margaret K., Joanne C., and Renee C. Thank you.
Okay, special treat for you. Here's Porchy Jimmy James, or JJ. He's a big, handsome boy. And have you realized that all the Porchies at this time, they're all boys? Amazing. JJ arrived when he was just 11 months old. He was living in a trailer court where no cats were allowed. Probably someone had him at the trailer court moved and just set him outdoors. That was the thought from the person that brought him in. What a good eater he was, and still is. He's a gentleman Porchy. He's just an all-around good cat. He doesn't boss anyone and accepts all of the Porchies as his friend. One of his favorite things to do is to chase the dried fall leaves around. He's also accepted by the horses on the farmyard, and he'll go right up to them, and he knows they will not hurt him. JJ was born February 14th, 2013, and arrived here January 9th, 2014. And he will greet you when you come visit at FFRC. Thank you, JJ. He's a sweetie, and JJ was sponsored by Beth today. The other cat I'm going to talk about is another Porchy. His name is DeFi. There's DeFi. DeFi's having a good time outside right now.
in DeFi sponsored by Judy L today. DeFi was a college cat. No, he didn't take classes, but he enjoyed the students. He would go over to the restaurant next to the campus and scrounge for food, then go back to the main campus for attention. He had been outside during the entire winter last year, and as you may know, they had a really hard winter here. Then one day, he walked into the double entry doors of the big recreation building, and we got a call for them saying they had him. He was starving, and would we come? A quick trip, and we picked him up, and they were right. He was very hungry and thin. We named him DeFi for Defiance. He's not a college cat anymore, but he's a porchy, and he gets along great with his porchy family. He has comfy places to nap at, but one of his favorite things is to nap wrapped around the rocks in the rock garden. What a boy is Defy. July 16th, 2013 is his birthday, and he arrived at FFRC May 22nd, 2014. And there's Defy. He's a sweetie.
We were going to try to bring Defy in, but he says no.
Not gonna
I'm
happen,
guessing
huh?
he's probably having a good time out.
Hey everybody, well, now we're going to talk about Azar, who's also a porchy. And here's Jackie holding Azar. As you can see, he's a very big boy. And we're talking big cat here. He is so tall. Azar is a porchy, of course a male as they all are. He just showed up on the property 5 of 2012. Such a good boy, came right up to us with his tail in the air, a sure sign of friendliness. The country life must agree with him because he brought his suitcase and decided to stay. He was just a year old and now he's 3 years old. This past spring we realized there were days when no one saw Azar. That was cause to wonder, where is he spending his time? I decided to put a note on his collar. It said, I am Azar and I am an FFRC cat. If you are helping to care for me, please contact the rescue center. Within 2 hours, a phone call came in from a neighbor just 6 houses away. Yes, Azar spends a lot of time there. He also goes inside and sleeps on the child's bed at nighttime. What a life he has, sharing 2 homes. He really is a special boy. A couple of weeks ago, while Jackie was down the road, she stopped at the house where Azar goes sometimes. And there he was, rolling around in the sun on the patio. What a wonderful sight. The family came out to talk. They then told me that they had talked to 5 more neighbors that feed him. This rascal hasn't made. Sounds like he goes family to family mooching. Still, when he comes back to the rescue center, the first thing we do is grab a can of food and feed him. No wonder he's so big. He has a purr too to match as big as he is. And we want to thank Julie. There's Julie.
Yes.
And then we have Blake and Grady. And I really love these 2 guys right here. I only had my first contact with them probably a couple of months ago when they kind of showed up. And so they are both porchies. And Blake is black and Grady is gray. And these brothers arrived together, and so they have their stories told together. They're very tight twosome. They arrived this summer. A rescue lady called FFRC in the beginning of spring, asking if we could possibly take these 2 brothers. They were part of a rescue in Columbus. In the area they were staying, it was going to be razed or tore down. Excuse me. They were totally outdoor cats and a bit shy, very afraid. But they were already neutered and vetted, so we decided that we could use a couple of more Barneys. But these 2 cats had other things in mind. They had taken it to the big red barn, and their crate opened up, and all I saw was 2 zips, one gray, one black, and they burrowed under the hay pallets. They were not seen for at least a week, and then one day they were seen by the fire pit. I was halfway back to the backyard area. We fed them, and although we couldn't touch them, then in another week they declared themselves porchies forevermore. Grady joins the porchies breakfast feast every morning, and Blake hangs back as he is much shyer. But they both have discovered the porchies' heaven too. and enjoy the comforts there. Grady now enjoys being petted. They look good and seem very content in their new home. And we want to thank Blake as Susan E. and Julie P. and Grady Susan E.
Okay, we're going to do the family plan here. Abner and Dickens, because these brothers, and Jemima, because these brothers are a monkey see, monkey do duel, they will be done together. These are brothers that love action. Wherever there is something happening, you can bet these boys are there. They were born here, so they've always been surrounded by love and attention. Jemima is their mama, and they are both bigger than she is. Jemima was stray and here only 2 days before she gave birth. We're so glad that they were not born outside. Dickens has a bit of a swirl to his markings, and Abner's more of a smooth coloration. While they look very similar, they also think the same. Their motto is, now what can we get into? One of their favorite things is to pull silverware out of the dish drainer and watch them hit the floor. Another favorite is to fish the dog snackers out of their containers and watch their friends play with them. They really are such a fun twosome of kitties. And actually, one night when I was doing dishes, I don't know which one of the two, grabbed a spoon, metal spoon, and jumped down with it and was carrying it in his mouth across the floor. And
I've seen him take them into Ada Jane's basket, so then it looks like Ada Jane's doing it.
So they were very appropriately named. Abner and Dickens, a big thank you to Patrick C. and Susan E. for sponsoring them. And what did I do with Jemima? There she is. Hang on. Jemima, what a beauty. When she arrived, it was very noticeable that she was very pregnant. It turned out she was here only 2 days before giving birth. We were so glad that she was here and not outside. She simply turned up at someone's house and they brought her in. Wow, what a tummy she had on her. Her kittens are Jessie, Bliss, Fantasia, Dickens, and Abner. All are adopted except for Dickens and Abner. She had beautiful babies. She loves to eat. That's the way to her heart. She helps at breakfast time to prepare all the food dishes by sampling many of them. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Huh, you're always there to help us. She loves to be petted, but not too keen on being picked up. That's okay. We just enjoy her. One of her favorite things is to watch the bird feeders. She is quite the chatterer. And thank you to Patrick C., Donna W., and Jean M. for that. And she is adopted. All three of them are adoptable. And then Jemima's other little girl, Jessie. Sometimes we call her Jessie Jr. The same time she was here, we had Jessie, who was Jessie Senior, here. And Jessie Senior is still here. Jessie was born here. She was so little, but soon had a little tummy on her. Her mama is Jemima, and she was a very good mama to these 5 kittens. We think it's extra nice when kittens have their mamas here and have their human friends to love them. They get 2-legged and 4-legged loving. Her siblings are Bliss, Fantasia, Dickens, and Abner. Jessie is extra pretty. She's a tortie with silvery cream markings and such a gentle soul. She was born here on March 16th, 2014. Of course, same with Abner and Dickens. Jessie was adopted on June 1st and then returned 5 days later. It was decided that they weren't really ready for a cat, and that is okay. That is why we make it clear when people adopt from us, if you cannot or don't want to keep an FFRC cat, we want them back. But the good thing is Jessie found another home, and a very wonderful home. Calico Cat, who is Vicky, and her husband Pat decided they would like to adopt Jessie. They had already adopted Clark, so we know they are wonderful kitty owners. So Jessie went to her new home and is very happy. So their dates of birth is March 16th of 2014, and they were born here, and she was adopted June 1st. And here she is. And thank you to Patrick C. and Judy L. There is Miss Jessie. She's a sweetie. Okay. There's Miss Jemima.
Pretty girl. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to do Zelda real quick. Zerle real quick while I have her. This is Zerle. What a beautiful bald girl. She had an owner, but she was moving and couldn't afford any vet care on Zerle, who desperately needed medical care. She had an infected uterus called a pyometria. She required immediate surgery. We received her and we kept her on antibiotics for 2 days. Then she went to our vet's office for her space surgery. It took her a couple days to recuperate. On the 3rd day, she let me know that she didn't feel like she fit in here anymore. I felt so sorry for her. So I left her in the house just to visit. Well, she quickly found the other Z's, short for sphinx kitties, and burrowed under the blankies alongside them for warmth and comfort. I told her it was just for a few days while she, do you see what she's doing? That's what did it. I told her it was just for a few days while she built her confidence. She speaks volumes with those magnificent green eyes. Needless to say, she is still in the house and has found herself a forever home. She was born August 10th, 2009, and she arrived here August 19th, 2014. And here's one of the pictures I really like of her. And I want to thank Ann F. and Jana S. for sponsoring Zerle. Okay.
I'm going to read about Mcloven. What an awful thing to do to a cat, to toss it from a moving car. This is completely cruel and shows a total lack of compassion. That's what happened to Mcloven. Someone saw this kitten being flung from the car and stopped to pick him up. They were unable to get the license plate number. Poor Mcloven. He was just 9 weeks old and such a handsome boy. He had the traditional pizza face. That's what we call it when a kitten hits the pavement with its face. It normally tears the bottom lip down, exposing much gum line and a very saggy lip. He also had the radial nerve completely damaged on his right front leg. Absolutely no feeling in it at all. And lastly, his right eye had a droop from the skin being drugged on the pavement. He went into surgery 2 days after arrival to fix him up. Nothing needed to be done to his eye but clean it up. His lower lip had a button on it for a little bit to pull the sagging lip up, and his front right leg had to be removed. Mcloven healed quickly, and he so enjoyed his life. Everything was fun, and he knew he was loved. It just so happened that one of our volunteers fell in love with him, Amy. She ended up adopting him 2 months after his arrival. He was completely healed and has grown into this magnificently handsome cat. And here he is. And thank you to Marilyn S. And this is Pizone. She arrived when she was just 4 weeks old. Her name means stinker in Italian, and she lived up to her, such an ornery little stinker girl. She was found all by herself. She must have been felt so deserted. No sibling, no mama. But foster mama Peggy took her for 4 days to give her a boost of energy, food, and love. When Pizone arrived, she had a little bit of congestion and a right eye that was infected. This may occasionally crop up again in her adult life. What a love Pizone is. She's big in love and big in soaking up love too. She was adopted just 4 months after arrival. Pizone went to a wonderful friend of FFRC, Pat P. And thank you to Marilyn S.
Oh, wait. This is Fabio. Yeah, so what? You have Fabio?
No,
Oh, Fabio. He's got Fabio.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you about another one of the porchies, the fabulous Fabio. He's such a handsome porchy. He's the only long-haired porchy in the group.
He looks like this.
And that's Fabio. He was just wandering around the farmyard in the winter of 2009 at 2 years of age. We wanted to bring him into Earth Angels, our low-cost spay-neuter clinic, to take care of matters on him, if you know what I mean. Well, that rascal wouldn't let us anywhere near him, so out came the traps. The next morning, there he was, sitting in the trap, looking relaxed and wanting food. So he was brought to the clinic, got the business of removing his tic-tacs over with, fed him, and then let him back out on the farmyard. He decided, no, I don't want to be a farm cat. I'd rather be a porchy, and a friendly porchy at that. No more worries. He was just a friendly fella after all. He loves to stroll around the barns, though, and visit. Sometimes Fabio is a little bossy, but generally he's a sweetie. Dr. Cindy named him Fabio because of the way his wavy fur would flounce around his head and chest, and what a ham he is. Fabio's date of birth is 10/15/07. He came to FFRC in the winter of '09. I won't show you pictures because you have more than the picture. And we want to thank Sue for sponsoring him. Missy Malou. Maybe Elizabeth can find her. Missy Malou is an adoptable cat. She's a beautiful young kitten found in a bean field near Henry County. How on earth did she end up there? There were no houses, no people living anywhere near or close. She's friendly, so someone had to have loved on her. She's part Persian. Her flattish face gives that away. Such a cutie at that. She's also a brown American Shorthair, although she's more like a medium hair. Her markings are very distinctive. She is so very soft. She was 8 months old upon arrival, but only weighed 3.13 pounds. So skinny, hips and ribs just sticking out. She has slowly gained weight and has a bit of a tummy now. She came in a little unsure of herself, but over the past week she's starting to sparkle. She loves to play, and when you hold her, she enjoys a head scratch a lot. Her eyes are golden. It must be her Persian breeding. She's spayed now and ready to go to a new home. Date of birth is 2/16/14, and she arrived 10/1/14. Elizabeth is looking for her, but I will show you what this pretty girl looks like. And thanks to Ann F. If Elizabeth finds her, we'll bring her out.
Okay. I'm going to tell you about the history of Tonio's den. Most of you see his little den there. Well, to know about Tonio's den, you first must know about Tonio. Tonio was an awesome cat. He arrived at FFRC when he was 12 years old. The people who was his family said their vet told them that he had diabetes, and they just didn't want to deal with it. This wonderful soul was handed over without so much as a hug. We named him Tonio. He was part Siamese with gorgeous blue eyes. He was a gentle boy. He liked everyone, never fussed at anyone, just wanted to be loved. And the odd thing is, he never showed a single sign of having diabetes and was never treated for it here at FFRC. Was that just an excuse to hand him over to us? We don't know, and we decided we would just be thankful for having him. And we were very thankful. Tonio was good to everyone, cats, kittens, dogs, and people. He just enjoyed being alive and knowing he was loved. His absolute favorite place to sleep was in the cabinet under the counter. This is where the towels were stored, and it was always good for a comfy sleep. He learned very easily how to open the doors. Soon the other cats and kittens figured it out too. Many times there would be a pile of cats sleeping away in what we now call Tonio's den. Last year we were able to get new cupboards, and we decided that the far right door still has to have Tonio's den painted on it. The kittens and cats have learned how to open these cupboard doors too. There came a time that Tonio slowed up, and it was in the fall of 2010 after being with us for 4 years. He was starting to lose weight. By now he was 16 years old. It was time to say goodbye to this good old boy. Some of us circled him physically, and with love, he was allowed to pass to kitty heaven. This boy was missed tremendously, and we still think of him fondly. A truly gentle boy. And this is a picture of Tonio. Beautiful boy. And his sponsor, we have thanks to Donna W. and Tanya B. And I think Elizabeth has found
Missy Malo. Pretty, pretty girl. A pretty marking. Oops.
the next story is about Dodger. Dodger arrived on October 11, 2010. We've always had a few oldsters that spend their retirement with us. This is the story of Dodger. When I answered the door and saw this dirty white head sticking out of a box, my first thought was, this poor cat looks almost dead. The man who brought this old fella to us had a neighbor lady who had died 6 months prior. Her family came to clean out her house and tossed this dear cat outside and locked up the house. The neighbor saw the cat during the first 2 weeks and then saw him go under the house. Almost 6 months later, they saw him stick his head out from the crawl space. After coaxing him out, they realized he was in very poor condition. This is when Dodger entered the rescue center. We see a lot of hardship cases, but this one broke our hearts. Dodger turned out to be an oldster cat, completely covered in tight mats, had rotted teeth, emaciated and dehydrated. Not only that, his bottom was covered in stool, blood, and literally thousands of maggots. And there were thousands of maggots. I was here the night he arrived, and he was in really bad condition. We started right away on him. He was shaved, bathed, and hydrated. His rotted teeth were pulled, and the terrible maggots were removed. The huge wounds on his backside required daily baths for weeks. The first week, Dodger's days consisted of eating, bottom bathing, healing, and sleeping. He was very tired and a weak cat, and he spent the first couple of weeks in the pen, which we now call Dodger's pen. When you are pronounced being an oldster at FFRC, it gives you a great title. You are treated like royalty. He was loved, cuddled whenever he wanted. Whatever he wanted, Dodger got. He would always do that tip the head thing. That was his sign he would like extra food. He was loved and he knew it. And Dodger passed away on February 14, 2011 while being held. And this is a picture of our Dodger boy. And our sponsor for Dodger is Paul. Thank you.
Okay, special treat for you. Here's Big Al. He's a porchy. He has the most gorgeous orange eyes. His pet name is Big Black Beautiful Baby Al. He doesn't even blush when we call him that. Al was 2 years old when he arrived, and he's a porchy, a big porchy at that. At his last weigh-in, he weighed in at 17 pounds. He just appeared on the property. We tried to catch him, but every time we would approach him, he would run away, so we set a trap. Within minutes, he walked in and the trap was set. We took the trap into Earth Angels, thinking we may have to sedate him. When the trap was opened, he walked out and wrapped himself around everyone's legs. He was forevermore a sweet, super friendly cat. He's just a laid-back sort of cat. He also loves to have visitors, as that means extra petting and maybe some extra snackers. 2 years ago, Al had so much trouble with his left ear. After several polyp removals, it was decided a resection of that ear would be best for him. He had so many sutures, but it didn't bother him. Never from that time on has he had any ear trouble. Big Al never goes far. He's almost always within sight. That way he doesn't miss any action. And Big Al will greet you when you come up to FFRC. He was born May 20th, 2005, and arrived at FFRC June 15th, 2007. And he was sponsored today by Anonymous, Joanne C., and Jennifer S. Big Al, look at him. Not really too happy to be inside because he likes to be outside, but he is a gorgeous boy. Now, we also tried to have Zatar in here, another porchy, but he wanted to go back outside.
He wouldn't have it.
Yeah. There's Zatar. And he's sponsored today by Parole P. Zatar is another one that will greet you when you come here. Zatar looks upon himself as one of the bosses of the Porchy gang. He has a big soft heart, but he likes to pretend he's the toughie of the group. He just appeared here on the farmyard one day. He acted like he'd known us forever and instantly claimed this as his home. He was just 9 months old when he arrived 2 years ago. Zatar is the keeper of the farmyard too. I do believe he knows every peacock, chicken, duck, and goose out there. He struts around like he owns the farm. He truly believes it. He knows every barn and shed too, and when the feeding schedule is for all the things out there. What a boy. Zatar also likes to tease the cats in the kitty cabana room. He'll go to the windows on the outside, sit and stare at the cats. It's like he's teasing them, taunting them. Zatar is Zavi, the greeter in the parking lot too. He has to also maintain watch over all the people that come and go. He's just a good organizer for us. Here's another picture of him out there on patrol, Zatar.
We're going to have to share the stool with Daisy.
I'll stand, Daisy can sit. I'm going to tell you about Fifi. Thanks to Barbara F. for sponsoring her. A beautiful tortie. She arrived here right after Christmas in 2011. She was 14 weeks old. A beauty. It was obvious something different was there with her face. Off to the vet's office to find out. We were told her facial muscles were atrophied and this caused her eyes to recede inward. Our advice was to wait and see how she grows and fills out. Fifi didn't mind. She went right on with the business of playing and enjoying herself. But in March 2012, it was noticed that both of her eyelids had entropion, where the lower lids rub inwards, causing rubbing on the eye. This can cause permanent scarring, so she had eye surgery to correct this problem. Come April, her physical pronounced her eyes as good. She loved to play with all the cats, was everybody's friend. She had second and third physicals in October and December. Both were good. During this whole time while Fifi was here, Pat C., our Thursday volunteer, had fallen for her. On December 14th, 2012, right before Christmas, Pat officially adopted Fifi and took her home. We are so happy for both. We continue to hear from Fifi, who is doing well. From Pat, who says Fifi is doing well. Thank you for giving her such a loving home, Pat. Date of birth was 9/20/11, arrived 12/27/11, adopted 12/14/12. And that's the beautiful Fifi girl. And Seymour, everybody's little love. Seymour and his mama, Patricia, were left in a box at a rescue called Bench, which is Blue Earth Nicollet Humane Society in Minnesota, at the end of 2013. After a couple of months and no homes found yet, two ladies, Patty and Julie from Minnesota, called FFRC and asked if we could take these two lovely cats. We said yes, we could. Patty and Julie picked up the two cats and drove them I think it was about 14 hours here. Patricia is a full Persian and Seymour is half Persian. Because of his rear legs, which he dragged behind, we had x-rays. The vets thought his leg problems were probably from some trauma he had as a kitten. When he arrived at FFRC from bench, his legs were already affected. Seymour was gorgeous, a gray and white cat. He was just 6 months old upon arrival. His mama, Patricia, was adopted soon by Rita, who is Wisconsin cat mom. For the next few months, Rita thought about Seymour. In the meantime, Seymour sailed around here like the Speedy Bullet. He would occasionally get one of his legs up under him and push off with it. But in the idea of going fast, it was easier for him to go fast just by using his front legs to pull him. He was amazing. Whatever he put his mind to, he did. He figured things out. There was no way a person could call him handicapped. He wasn't. Such a happy boy. Rita continued thinking about Seymour and decided she would like to adopt him. After much talking and making sure she was ready to care for him, she drove all the way here again and picked up her boy. Excuse me. Mom and son were reunited, and all is well and happy, and life is good. And thank you to Pamela C.
Okay. Next we have Sita. She was born on 8/15/2014, arrived at FFRC at 9/12/2014 at just 4 weeks old. I'm sure you guys all know what she looks like, but just in case. What an extra beautiful little baby. Why was she all by herself? We don't know, but there was no mama and no siblings. She was alongside some woods close to a country road. She was crying pitifully. 2 guys spotted her from their car and pulled over. They could hear her squawking and took pity on her. They were worried if they left her there, the coyotes would get her soon. She was only 4 weeks old. Good thing she was born knowing how to cry loudly. That helped her to be saved. They brought her to FFRC. It was so sweet. 2 big guys carrying this wee little one. It didn't take Sita long to fit right in. She's friends with all of the kittens and cats. She's just so pretty and has an awesome personality. One thing for sure, she never has to worry about being in the woods again. Other than being a little hungry, she was in good condition, and she was just adopted yesterday. So thank you to Pam for sponsoring Sita. Next we have... I think she's already in here.
Not joyful.
I took her out once.
Is she back out?
Yeah, I tried to make friends
okay.
with her.
She was in this morning. Next we have Joyful. Her date of birth is 4/9/2012. She came to FFRC on 12/29/2004, I think. Joyful, a beautiful white Persian, this sweet girl made us cry when she first arrived. She was a rescue from another county. The sheriff demanded that the owner release her to a rescue, so FFRC took her. She emerged from her carrier smelling very strongly of illegal drugs, which was part of the problem with the owner. It was also witnessed that he physically abused her with the toe of his boots. When he was tired of her, he would put her in the hall closet. That is actually where she was when the sheriffs invaded his house. She was 10.5 years old when she arrived. Her beautiful gold eyes were very sad. We named her Joyful in hopes of filling this precious cat with joy. It took a long time for her to start getting comfortable around us. She also had a severe eye infection that needed treatment for weeks. This left her with one of her eyes partially scarred. We can now pet Joyful. A few days ago, she turned her tummy to us to be rubbed. Because of her past situation, it was decided that the trauma of adopting her out may set her back in emotional trauma. So it's decided that she is now a resident. She resides over the desk in the welcome room and also on one of the Coranda towers in the back thumper's room. She loves watching the outside through the window there. She now has a sense of peace about her. Is that her date of birth supposed to be 2002?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She was born in 2002, not 12. And her sponsors are Sandra H., Laura E., Donna H., Janet K., Pamela T., June K., Sally H., and Helen D. Beautiful trick.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one we have is Prness. Prness has been with FFRC for a while. We love her and will patiently wait for a home for her. She arrived here in 2011 when she was 6 weeks old. Her siblings were two brothers called Derby and Belmont. Obviously, they arrived when the horse race was high. The kittens were found in a friend's backyard with no mama. The brothers were adopted, but Prness is still waiting for that special home. Prness is a beautiful tortie with a beautiful gold dot above her left eye. Prness loves people and enjoys being petted. She also enjoys biting the tails off of the mouse toys. Prness likes to plant herself on the orange steps in the morning, so she is generally one of the first cats to get a morning pet. What a smart cat she is. And Prness was born on July the 8th, 2011, and arrived at FFRC in August 19th of 2011. And Prness's sponsors are Cicely M., Deborah K., Phyllis B., Deborah K., and Barbara F. And then we also have Pania here. Pania, what a gorgeous Siamese. Her name for a sea maiden in New Zealand mythology, which is a subject of a famous statue called Pania of the Reef. She was found by someone who realized her eyes were a problem and brought her to FFRC. To realize that she was outside by herself with her eye condition saddened us. Our Pania is blind. She arrived here with two very bulging eyes. We felt she might have had a little sight when she first arrived, but as time went on, we realized things progressed in the damage to her eyes. Her right eye became even more swollen to the extent that it had to be removed. She still has her left eye, although there is no sight in it. That sure doesn't matter to Pania. She goes wherever she wants. Yes, she may bump into things, but that doesn't stop her. She even climbs up high. Pania loves people, loves to be petted and fussed over. She also answers to her name. When you want Pania, you just say her name in a sing-song way, and she meows in an answer. And Pania was born on April the 12th, 2012, and arrived at FFRC on November 19th, 2012. And Pania's sponsors are Michelle M., Cassandra H., Donna S., Joanne C., Donna H., Sharon H., and Diane E.
Can you kind of do like a sing-song thing? I want to hear it meow.
Pania. Pania. She's going to do it for me. Maybe it's only Jackie or Beth.
We're going to squeeze these two in since we have the most beautiful girl here in the whole entire place.
Mary?
Zelda. Elizabeth and I have this argument back and forth all the time between Zelda and Mary. A viewer friend from Australia gave Zelda her name. This wonderful girl came to us when she was a yearling. Poor girl was bone thin. She was actually retrieved from between two walls. One was a cement wall and the other was a brick wall. She was stuck there with her back legs moving and moving, trying to get out. This movement created big sores on both of her bony hips, but they healed quickly. Her front shoulders were so very sore. She still to this day has trouble with her front legs, which causes her to limp. The vets say it is from the damage from being stuck. Well, over time, Zelda started following me around and I started seeking her out. I knew I loved her and I knew she loved me. I thought it would be wonderful to make her a resident just so I could keep her forever. But my policy is if they are adoptable, we need to let them be adopted so they will have their very own special home. And I meant to stick to that. Then one day, a lady came who had seen her on the cam and was interested in adopting her. That put me in a position of panic. I showed her Zelda and then pointed out her limpiness that would be with her forever, thinking that would deter her. Then I started showing her lots of cute kittens in hopes that she would rather have one of them. While she was looking at these cute kitties, I slipped Zelda into the dog's room so she would maybe forget about Zelda. I know that was awful of me, but I couldn't help it. Then I had to run in the house to get something, and when I came out, I went to the lady to see if she had decided on which kitten she wanted. And there on her lap was Zelda. Oh my gosh, I thought my heart was going to flip out. Someone here had seen her in the dog's room and knew she wasn't normally there, and so left her out. I admit that's when I turned into a bawling baby, saying I couldn't let Zelda go. It took something like that for me to realize that Zelda did indeed have to stay. I was honest with the lady and told her I even tried to hide her. She so graciously told me that Zelda was indeed mine and I should adopt her. So Zelda is now Zelda Belda Moss Girl. Yeah, I embarrassed myself on all that, but I was not too ashamed about it. Zelda is also known as our box cat. Almost always when it's box time, here comes Zelda to preside over the nightly fun. Frequently, she can be seen hanging over the edge of a box, just watching you folks on the cam. And here's a beautiful picture of her. And then I'd like to thank Larissa, who wanted to the Zelda story about hiding her. And we also had, so Larissa B, Peggy and Bernie G, Donna H, Vicky B, Judy L, Beth A, Steve, and Beth S for sponsoring her. And that is our Zelda.
And that's called pulling a Zelda.
And that's called pulling a Zelda. And then we have another one, Kiera. Kiera wasn't very appreciative of us trying to get her over here, but that is indeed our beautiful. Oh, Bill's going to bring her. Kiera.
Start reading it.
Okay, such a scared, sad kitten she was when she arrived. She arrived when she was just 7 weeks old in 2007. Kiera grew to be braver and learned that it's very nice to be petted and loved on. Oh, she brought her blankie. She has a wonderful purr. She grew, was spayed, and soon was up for adoption. Her first adoption happened, and within 24 hours, she was returned. The reason is that she cried and cried and cried some more. The family was so worried about her not being happy, they just brought her back and adopted a different cat. We gave Kiera some adjustment time. Next came another adoption, and these people visited her a couple times so that she would know them. They took her home, and they had her 7 days. Kiera hid in fear, refused to eat, and was plainly unhappy. She was returned again, and they too adopted a different cat. Now we were worried. What's to happen with Kiera? As time went on, another family fell for her. They actually visited many times before the official adoption date so that Kiera would know them well. We all felt sure that she would be fine as Kiera really seemed to like them. They kept her 3 weeks. During that time, we kept in contact with them. Kiera spent most of her time behind the microwave or washer. They said she hardly would eat. As much as they wanted this to work, they felt so sorry for her, and she was brought back again. We left her out of her crate. Out walked a skinnier Kiera, and off to the food bowl she went. I'll never forget that. I opened it up, and within 10 seconds, she was eating. she was back home again. This time we made the decision that Kiera was here to stay. It wouldn't be fair to put her through a fourth time. She obviously planned to stay here at FFRC. She is now 7 years old and she's a very happy cat. Occasionally, when there's a big scary noise or it thunders, she gets very worried. We simply put her in June's room, open the cabinet door, and let her stay there until the scary things are over. There's always a bed, always ready for her in the cabinet, just in case it's needed. She's a beauty, and we so enjoy having her. She wears her collar with pride. All right, Grady.